Hello and welcome to the third video in our Secure REST API with Ktor series. This time I will show you how to set up RBAC, also known as Role-Based Access Control. We will build functionality based on the refresh token tutorial, so I highly encourage you to either check out the video or download the source code from the description below. Lastly, I just wanted to invite you to my newsletter community. Every week you will get the most important news from the Kotlin and backend world without unnecessary spam. Additionally, as a bonus when joining, you will get 3 ebooks with Kotlin, Java and Spring interview questions. Again, you can find all the links in the description below. As the first thing, let's figure out what exactly we will do today. So, at the end of this tutorial, you will know precisely how to secure your Ktor REST API with role-based access control. But to be more specific, we'll work with 2 endpoints. The get/API/user ID, which will be accessible for users with either admin or user roles, and the second one, the get/API/user, which will be accessible only for admin users. And how we will achieve that? Well, we will implement a custom Ktor authorization plugin, which will be triggered on the authentication checked hook. And I will show you how to do it the easy way without unnecessary logic. As the last thing before we start the practice part, let's figure out what is role-based access control, also known as RBAC. Well, role-based access control, RBAC or role-based security is nothing else than a way of restricting system access to authorized users. To put it simply, we define a set of roles in our system which reflect the need of given permissions from our organization. An example of such a role can be a user, manager, admin, and many more. And based on this role, we allow or deny access for a particular authenticated user. When dealing with JWT tokens in a REST API, such information can be first stored inside the token so that later we can easily read a claim and check whether a request should be served or not, and that's exactly what we are gonna see today. With all of that said, let's finally start the practice part. Open up the IntelliJ and navigate to the model package, and let's open up the user class. Right here, we'll insert a new field named role. So enter val role, and this will be the string type. For the sake of simplicity, let's leave it as a string, but depending on your needs, you may want to consider using the enum value or a sealed class instead. At this point, our code will not compile. I can prove that by running the application. So following, let's navigate to the user road. Let me close this window right here, and by default, let's make this extension method to set the role as user. So role equals the user. As a reminder, this extension function is invoked every time we are creating a new user and we are converting the user request into the user class. Following, let's navigate to the repository package, open up the user repository, and let's add the admin user so we don't have to keep it anymore. I would like this to keep being mutable list user UID.random UID to generate a random UID value. Let's make the username as admin, password will be the password, and as a role I would like to specify the admin because as I mentioned, inside the user role, all users created by default will be a standard user type. On the other hand, right here we have a predefined admin user. Excellent. As the next step, let's open up the JWT service and let's update the necessary functions. So let me click on the service package, JWT service. Let's scroll down a bit and let's find the create JWT token function. We can see this one, this private function. I would like this one to take one more parameter. It will be called role. So let me click enter, expire in, and let's keep it as the second one. Role of string type. Ctrl+Alt+L to format the code. And what I would like to do now will be simply add additional claim named role and pass the role value to our JWT token. So with claim, this time the name will be role and the value will be simply the value passed to the function. what we can see right now, we need to update our two additional functions, create access token, create refresh token. So similarly, I would like them both to take role as an argument. Role of string type. Right here, we'll forward that to the create JWT token, and let's do exactly the same in the create refresh token. Role string, similarly role Ctrl-Alt-L, excellent. So with that done, we must navigate to the user service and update two functions right there. Let me open up user service, and when I scroll down a bit, we will see that both authenticate and refresh token needs to be updated. So let's scroll up a bit, and right here we can see that we are fetching the user from our repository. When we find him, we are invoking this logic. So what we need to do right here will be to simply forward the role from our found user. Found user dot role. Similarly, found user dot role in this case. Nextly, let's navigate to the refresh token, and let's do exactly the same because we can see that right here we have found user 2. Found user dot role. So whenever we'll be refreshing the token or authenticating a new user, we must provide the role from now on so that later it will become the part of the JW token as the role claim. So at this point, that's all we need, and as the next step, we will introduce a custom Ktor authorization plugin. But what are Ktor plugins? Basically, plugins in Ktor are a way to implement a common functionality that is out of the scope of the application logic. But what do we mean by that? Well, things like serialization, deserialization, compression, encoding, etc. And when we take a look at the following diagram, we will clearly see that plugins are everything that sits between request, application handler, and response. And yes, routing is a plugin too. So at this point, we can see that the custom plugin will be a great way to achieve RBAC in our Ktor application. Moreover, we'll use a new simplified API for creating custom plugins introduced in Ktor v2. So with all of that said, let's navigate to the plugins package and create the role-based authorization file. So let me open up plugins, right mouse button, new, Kotlin class, file, and let's call it role-based authorization. Role-based authorization. Let's add it to Git. So firstly, let's introduce the plugin configuration class with a roles field. Class plugin configuration var roles. This will be a set of type string, and by default, we'll assign the empty set to that. So basically this way, we will be able to configure later which roles should be allowed for the given endpoint and which should be forbidden. Nextly, let's introduce our custom plugin using the create roles code plugin function. So, well, I'll call it role-based authorization plugin, role-based authorization plugin equals create route scoped plugin, and we'll invoke this function with two arguments. First, name. I would like this to be called RBAC plugin, and the second one will be create configuration plugin configuration. Don't worry that it does not compile right now. When we introduce the third argument, which is of type function, we can see that it compiles at this point. So right here, we'll configure what exactly our custom plugin will be doing. So let's start at the first thing. Let's read the roles from our configuration. So val roles equals plugin config dot roles. Nextly, let's refer to the plugin config again, and let's apply the function plugin config dot apply. Excellent. And right here, I would like to introduce a new hook which will be invoked on authentication checked. So on authentication checked. Excellent. Call. And right here, I would like to do a few things. First, I would like to read the role of the user from the token. And if our roles contain this red role from the token, then I would like to simply ignore that. Nevertheless, if the user is not authorized, we'll respond with 403 forbidden. So to do so, let's start by reading the role from token. Val token role equals, and right now call dot principal. The principal will be of type JWT principal. JWT principal. Excellent. Nextly, let's refer to the payload. Get claim. The claim was named role. Again, this was our custom claim that we added in the previous steps. And lastly, let's read that as string. As string. Excellent. Ctrl-Alt-L to format the code. What I can do additionally right here will be to extract that to the separate function. To do so, let's select the code that we would like to extract. Ctrl+Alt+M. And let's call this get role from token. Get role from token. Wonderful. I can scroll down a bit, hit enter, Ctrl-Alt-L. Additionally, when I hit Alt+Enter on the method function, I can specify that we would like this return type to be injected right here. Excellent. So when we read the token role from the token, the next step will be to simply check whether the user is authorized. So we need to figure out whether our roles contain this role. So val authorized equals roles contains and token role. Lastly, if the user is not authorized, as I mentioned, I would like to respond with forbidden, and we can add a simply dummy logger. So if not authorized, then I would like to print out that user does not have any of the following roles, blah, blah, blah. Print the user does not have any of the following roles. And lastly, call.respond, and simply respond with HTTP status code forbidden. HTTP status code dot forbidden. Ctrl-Alt-L, excellent. So again, to rephrase what we did exactly. So inside this function, we refer to the plugin config and configure right here what exactly we need to do. Firstly, we set the on handler that accepts the hook as parameter, and we specify the authentication checked hook, which per the documentation is executed after authentication credentials are checked. And to put it simply, our plugin will be invoked after we authenticate the user successfully. With the old API, we would have to use the after authentication.challenge phase, but with the V2, that's what we should do. And again, we extract the role from the token, check whether our configured roles contains this role, and respond with 403 forbidden, or simply ignore, and the request will be forwarded to the following plugins. Excellent. With that done, let's navigate to the util package and introduce the authorize function inside the RoleUtil. So let me open up util, right mouse button, new Kotlin class. It will be the file RoleUtil. Excellent. Let's add it to Git. And right here, let's introduce the authorize function. Fun route dot authorized. It will take the var arg, has any role of type string, and build route and return unit. Let me import the route, Alt+Enter, excellent. Nextly, install role-based authorization plugin roles equals has any role to set Lastly, build. Let's import. So to put it simply, we will use this function whenever we would like to authorize our request using role-based access control. And with all of that said, let's see it in action. So let's navigate to our routes. Let's click on the routing, user route, and scroll up a bit. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I would like this endpoint to be accessible only for admin users. This is the handler for get/API/users. So what I would like to do here will be invoke our previously introduced function, authorized admin, and we'll provide it right here. Similarly, for the second endpoint, I would like to go with authorized. This time specify two roles, both admin and user, and encapsulate our logic, or in other words, forward that as the last argument to the authorized function. So as we can see with all of that, what we done previously, we can easily use our authorized function to encapsulate the endpoints that we would like to secure with RBAC. So at this point, what we must do right now will be run the application KT. If it doesn't work for you, you must navigate to configurations and specify the secret environment variable with some random value. Wonderful, but we can see that it works perfectly. And as the next step, let's open up Postman. And in Postman, I'll make use of the collection that I already created. You can download this collection from the link in the description for this video. What we would like to check will be the get all users and get users by ID. So let me get right here and let's open in new tab this one. Let's try to get all users. For one unauthorized, we haven't provided any authorization. We need to specify the bearer token. Let me get a new token. This one will be for admin. Off, open a new tab, and we can see localhost 8080/API/off. Right here, let's specify the username for admin. It was admin, and the password. Let's hit enter. Let's get the access token. With this access token, we should be able to get all users and get users by ID. Let's get back right here, specify the token value. Let me hit send. We can see that at this point we have only one user. So let's create a new one. Let me open up the create user. This is the post /localhost API user, some username, some password, pwd. Let me hit send. We can see right here 201 created HTTP status code, which indicates that everything is working as expected. So let me get all users one again. So we can see that the user is created to here. So nextly, let me test the second endpoint with admin. I must use the same ID as me. Excellent. So we can see that admin can access both endpoints. Now, let me authenticate as the second user. So let me copy the username and password is pwd. Let's go to the off endpoint, password pwd. Excellent. We are getting the access token, then refresh token. So now when I use this token, I should not be able to see all users. Excellent. Nevertheless, when I check with my ID, which actually I don't remember, so let me get the token for admin once again, admin password. I will need to somehow read simply the ID of the user, so I'll update this only here. Let me copy the identifier of the second user, get users by ID, and right here we are still using the simply user token, right? Let's hit send. Wonderful. 200, okay, which indicates that everything is working fine. As a confirmation, let's get back to IntelliJ and let's see whether our logger was working as expected to. So let me get here. Let me try to find the logging message, but to do so, let me get back to our plugin and let's copy that. Ctrl+F, and we can see right here, the user does not have any of the following roles. Admin, wonderful. The user does not have any of the following roles. Admin. So we can clearly see that our logic is working as expected. And that's all for this video on how to implement role-based access control in Ktor. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I highly encourage you to check out my other videos on this YouTube channel and coderc.com to see all my articles. Thank you for being here and see you in the next videos.